Hello and welcome to Inside Salem. I'm your host, Mike Allen. On this show, we try to take a look behind the scenes, behind the headlines, to see what's happening in Salem. And to help with that, we have a panel here of people in the know. We have Teasie Riley-Goggin, political analyst.
Thank you, Mike. Nice being here.
Megan Stott, former Ward 6 City Councilor and current school committee member.
Hello.
Tom Furey, former school committee member, former council at large, and current planning board member.
Thank you, Mike.
Welcome all. Some of the topics we'll be talking about today will be the Salem High School, money to relocate sewer pipe, and mayor eyeing a local sales tax to help increase revenue. But before we start all that, congratulations to the Salem High School boys basketball team for winning a state championship. I guess they did it last time 31 years ago. So
I've been to many of the games, and Tom Doyle has been there 21 years straight.
Yep.
Great family, the Doyle family. And you need a role model like him. And he is the essence of a coach. He's a coach's coach.
Okay.
He's like a father figure to the kids. A lot of these kids come from different challenging homes there. But this team, I've watched him play myself personally since they were freshmen. And this is the team. He's waited for a long time. And as a teacher myself, I taught 40 years, and if someone asked me, what was your best class? It would be hard to say what was my best student. So this is one of his best teams.
Okay.
He only had 3 seniors, and the rest were all young, and they got along very well. The chemistry is beautiful. They learned some lifelong skills.
Yeah.
Winning all the way, the first time in 31 years.
Yeah.
And I was there 31 years ago at the Songa Center 31 years ago, and so it's an amazing cycle 31 years later.
Now, you say there was only 3 seniors, so they should be in good shape next year as well.
Great future.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
There's a couple of Larry Birds there on that team there. They got a great future there, and Tommy Doyle and the whole team. And Glenn Burns, the high school principal, he's amazing. Yeah. He's turned the whole high school around. Riley Christie is the athletic director. He's Paul Tucker's son-in-law, DA. And that combination of leadership by Glenn Burns, the principal, and his staff, and Riley Christie, amazing for the kids. It's a nice place it's a safe, warm place to be. They're learning lifelong lessons in the classroom and in the sports and the drama and the music and performing arts. So it's an exciting place to be in the 2026 plus.
But you know, Tom, you can just imagine. It's because we knew his mother and father, how proud they would be, especially his father, who was, an athlete himself. Yeah.
And Tommy Doyle and Peter Doyle are the only father-son combination in the Salem State Sports Hall of Fame.
Salem State, you said?
Salem State University.
Okay, yeah.
Because Peter went, and I had Peter as a teacher at the 7th and 8th grade, way back when at the Ballard School, the old Ballard School on Flint Street. And he was a great role model for me, and he got me into teaching.
Okay.
He was just that type guy. And the Doyle family, Judge Doyle, the whole family, great family. Although Doyle family could fit in, do a basketball team. And they'd be very proud of Tommy Doyle now as the head coach for 21 years. That's a heck of a long time to be a coach.
Well, the Doyle family had their own team.
Yeah,
they could.
Right, they did, yeah. The original family had their own team because they had enough boys to go around. Yeah.
And they played in the old Ballard gym.
Yep.
Right.
I would also like to congratulate, we have a state wrestling champion in Alexia Coleman at Salem High School and a state swimming champion in Grant Dwyer. So not just the basketball team.
That's an amazing combination.
Yeah, just amazing things all around. And of course the performing arts are doing state championships left and right, color guard, all of that. So
beautiful. Good things happening. Amazing things happening.
Yep.
Okay. Well, let's segue into we have a new superintendent, interim superintendent, Kate Carbone, who was or was it Carbone? The Carbone?
Oh, now you're having me think.
Oh, okay. Who is an assistant superintendent now, and she's going to be the interim superintendent while that goes forward, because it was a pretty quick departure. I mean, I know that when I was on the school committee, we had replaced 2, but we had like 6 months notice in each case, so we had plenty of time. This is less than 6 weeks, it seems. So
yeah, it is a quicker turn time. I think it's a position that many might be interested in, right? So we are doing we announced the interim assistant. And we are opening up the search process pretty quickly, right? And creating the search committees, and hopefully the intent is to have that complete by the end of the year and have the new super in the seat over the summer.
Right, it'd be good to have it start of the school year and a little earlier. So, do we have a timeline for any of these things here, and when the public can, the public participation part of it?
So that's all started at our last meeting last week. We announced the interim superintendent, and we announced the creation of like a subcommittee and school committee of 3 school committee members to kind of assist with the timeline of the process. They were going to get together and meet at our next meeting to talk about the formation of the search committee that they'd like to create. So that will be members from the community to be on the search committee, and then the process for that to join that is going to be open for the end of March, beginning of April, and that's going to be filled in April with applications beginning to be received, right? So it's all going to be a fairly quick process. But
what is the floating financial arrangement for the new superintendent coming in? How much money?
Well, we don't know how much money the new superintendent is going to come in, because that will all be negotiated once we have the applicants and the offer out to whoever we offer it to, right? So, I mean, we might use the base of what the current superintendent is receiving, but we don't know what we're going to pay a superintendent that we haven't hired yet.
And what is the current superintendent receiving?
The annual salary, I don't want to misspeak. I want to say it's maybe $250-ish, $260. I'm honestly not sure.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that one. I'll have to get back to you.
Okay.
I hate saying numbers off the cuff because I always get them slightly incorrect.
Okay. Very good. Okay. Also on the Salem High School Massachusetts State Building Authority, MSBA, okays $208 million for Salem High School. Doesn't that leave? So that's less than 50% that they're paying towards that. That leaves.
Well, I'm glad you're bringing this up, because I really and truly, as I was talking with Tom about this, about the fact that I can't even comprehend $460 million to build a high school.
Yeah.
I can't comprehend that.
And Tom's
because
answer last time.
There was a time that 2 or 3 million built a lot of different things. And how it went from where it was to where it is today. Number one, we cannot right now. I know that there is a vote yes circulating throughout the city with a group, and but I can't right now. They should take another look at it, because what's happening now in the Persian Gulf has a great deal to do with the inflation and everything that's going to happen to our taxpayers.
Actually, inflation really only is caused when government prints money. Price increases happen. Price decreases happen. Inflation is 100% caused by government printing money they don't have. It's like deficit spending. That's where inflation comes from. And they blame it on oil prices, beef prices, bread prices, any type of prices they want. But it really breaks down to is they print money, and so therefore you have more dollars chasing the same amount of goods, and therefore the prices go up.
But the only thing is, and I know, and everyone up that I talk to hopefully knows, the fact that, this country runs on credit.
That's right. That's why we have inflation.
That's right. And but right now, it's like, what is really and truly going to happen? The idea of building a new school. Let's take a look at Revere. Revere has a school system with about, I would say, 2,600, 23,000 around that.
2,300, 23,000.
Right, and theirs is about 480 million.
And this is the high school.
This is a high school.
Yeah.
But in Revere. But here in Salem,
Yeah.
if I have been informed correctly, we only have 916 students at the high school.
Yeah.
Now, that's almost like 1/3 of what Revere has.
Right, and we're paying the same price. for that.
Practically the same price.
Right. Yeah, and that's an amazing thing. And the argument that Tom, you can make your argument here for.
Yeah, but the only thing is, I'm a teacher, through and through. I love education and everything that it stands for. But there's a time and a place for different things. The building does not make for the only time it comes into being, so to speak, is for accreditation. In teaching, I could sit out in an old shack if I had my students with me and teaching a class. I could sit out under a tree in the warm weather. It didn't matter where they actually were.
Yeah.
Of course, if it was freezing cold in a building, that's different.
Yeah.
But we just spent, not too many years back there, millions of dollars at Salem High School trying to correct some of the mistakes.
When I was on the school committee, we voted to spend, I believe, it was $70 million to
You were
remodel.
then?
Yeah, I believe that was the number. Yeah.
And then
And it
70
it
million?
happened after I think I guess it happened towards the end of my term, but yeah.
Yeah, so bringing up Revere, and I'm sorry, I pull up my phone because I don't want to misquote numbers, and I'll correct myself. It was $245 is the current super salary.
Okay.
But you bring up Revere, which is a great example. So looking at buildings, cost to build, the best way to kind of do a comparison of apples to apples is what the cost is per square foot, right? Because that's a building cost. So Salem, our estimated square foot cost, project cost is $1,050. In Revere, the estimated square foot project cost is $1,283. So we're actually lower than Revere. The other thing I'll comment about Revere is they don't have to do a debt exclusion because they had, I think it's something like 6,500 new housing units brought in the past decade or so, which has increased their revenue or their tax base. So they're able to pay for it without having to go to a debt exclusion to get the bond, which we have to pay for.
But right
So
now,
that's a
the
good
only
example.
thing is that Mike, if you were on the school committee right now, with the way as opposed to when you were on it before, you can't compare, can you?
No.
No, you can't.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
But do
'cause
you,
I haven't been on
how
there
many
almost
people
20 years.
believe that a building makes a difference?
Yeah.
It makes a difference in accreditation sometimes.
Yeah.
But Salem has been in trouble, accreditation-wise, for a number of years.
Yeah, and we
For
kept
the
pulling
past
trickery
how
to
many
keep out of
years
it. Yeah.
have they had waivers? How many waivers have they had?
Yeah,
Again and
again,
again.
we pulled, first we changed one school to a charter school, then we closed one school down. I forget, there was a third thing we did, I think, as well, to start the clock again, because we were going to be run into receivership. Yes, yeah, well, that is correct. But the thing is this, Tom said last time, they're spending $600 million someplace else. Where are they spending $600 million? You were saying that when we were talking about when I was complaining about $450 million.
Lexington is high school.
Lexington, yeah, they're spending
enormously. They patched up their schools, added additions over the years. They're getting a lot of new apartments like Revere, very similar to Revere,
Yeah.
on the MBTA route, Wonderland on the MBTA. They're building Revere High School on Wonderland. Wonderland, they opened dog park.
Yeah, and Lowell's another good example where they're not doing a new build. The city rejected that, and they're trying to renovate their existing
And which city?
going way.
Yeah, but
they're going over budget on that. Lowell.
Here in
and
Salem, didn't they say it was going to cost like $300 million and change
for
to renovate,
renovation.
to supposedly, if they renovated?
Reno,
Yeah.
yeah, in addition, but that would be without the MSBA funding. We'd have to start again, and then getting back into the queue for that, waiting 5 or 6 more years to get any funding. Cost is probably not going to go down, but only up.
Well, I'm not sure how many people have done the research, but according to the way the budget plan seems to be set up is that it's going to take approximately 30 years to pay back the money.
It's a 30-year bond. Yeah.
And each year it goes up higher. If you own property, and let's say the people who own property, they can go up on their rents, but right now many of them feel they're at the max that people can bear, And if they're at the max, they can't afford the extra amount of money to take over and pay for what this school's going to cost. And it really and truly is not fair, because some people are going to lose their homes that they've had for many years. They're going to sell. Developers are going to come in, and there's going to be more condos. A one-family or two-family house is going to be passé for a long time now. It's no. Everyone has to take a look at what's going on. When they go to vote this year on this, I hope that people take a very close look at some of the people who are going to lose their homes and some of the people that are going to be homeless because if they can't stay in Salem anyhow.
If you look back over the years in Salem, and I served 12 years on the school committee, I loved it, I miss it, and 24 years on the city council, the city of Salem has stepped up year after year for their school system. The high school is the flagship and always will be the flagship of the school system, middle school and elementary schools. If you look back, Mike and I graduated from the old Salem High School, Collins Middle School. The Collins Middle School looks like something out of Curry & Ives on the rooftop now, on the hill. Looks like, oh, Curry & Ives, Norman Rockwell. We put hundreds of millions of dollars during my short time on the school committee and city council. We whole new library, whole new gym, whole new auditorium. We tore down the vocational school. We put a whole new roof on that high school. Yeah. And we think that's a panacea to our problems
and
now.
That was not Collins Middle School. That's on the new high school that was built 50 years ago that was good for about 5 years.
The new high school, same thing we did. People of Salem stepped up, bond by city councils over the years, school committees over the years, different superintendents, different groups. We put a whole new roof under Tony Salvo's administration. Neil Harrington had to put new glazing, windows, and pointing into the classrooms. Hundreds of millions of dollars into the gym and so on. So that is the flagship. We have to keep investing. That's like the stock market. You don't pull out in the middle of war.
But the only thing is, you can't get, as they say, you can't get blood out of a stone. And you can't constantly go to the taxpayers and say, here, if you take a cross-section in the city of Salem on how many people actually have children in the Salem school system, you'll find out, right? It's very lopsided. I had David and I, 5 children, and they all went not to public school. We only had one public school for about 6 months, but they all went to a parochial or private school. No, everyone should pay and help to pay for education. There's a difference between paying for education, for the curriculum needs, and for the teacher to teach it. But it's another thing to say, in less than 50 years approximately, we need another new building.
40 years I've been a teacher, 40 years, and I'm proud to be a teacher, 40 years, and on the school committee for 12 years. And I stand here with great pride. Salem has always put money into the school system.
But they don't have it. They don't have it, Tom.
They have, and they do. They did then when we were on the school, for Salem High School, they did, and they do now. It's the best investment for the future of the city of Salem. It's the flagship. And May 4th, I believe the people of Salem will make the best decision thinking about the future.
Tom, you're saying they do have it.
They will vote yes.
You're saying they do have it. But I'm just saying that I'm a taxpayer. I have property. And right now, if it increases approximately 17%, I don't have that money readily and available unless I go way up on my rents. And that's not fair to people who right now are struggling to buy food at the local, market basket or place.
The people are coming to Salem. When I was on the city council and school committee, the population was 38,000. Now it's 45,000, 7,000 more. People are coming to Salem, young and old, and reinvesting in their houses because of our school system. It is a trophy.
They're not, though.
Tom,
They're
the
not.
question is this.
My kid's 5.
There's several different things there. One, I believe that if we had a voucher system where we said every student gets their portion that we're giving now, that we're spending on the school department, and put out private bids, we would have superior school results. Because that has been proven to happen most places that has been tried. And so, again, there has to be a limit on how much is asked. The same, much like my argument about the South Salem train stop, there has to be a limit for how much the taxpayers are asked to spend. Why is it that the size of the Salem High School, which is based on the numbers that you just gave us a few minutes ago, Megan, why is the Salem High School going to be approximately the same size as the Revere High School?
That's not what I said. I was doing cost per square foot.
Right. And
so I took the total cost.
Right.
So
And again, but the cost per square foot, and then you take the total cost. Now what that breaks down to is that the Salem High School, the building is the same size, in effect. Well, again, let's do the numbers. If they're paying, let's just say $450 million each. We're paying $450 million each, and their cost per square foot is 10% higher than ours.
Their size is 422,000.
Yep.
Our size is 354,000. So it's not the same size.
Okay, then the other numbers aren't matching up.
But I don't agree with vouchers. But to go back to the we have to have a limit. We do have a limit. It's called Prop 2.5, and that's why we're going to the vote, right? But I want to make a comment. Like, we're not building the Taj Mahal. You're not going to walk into these hallways. They're not going to be marble lined. We're building a building that will have adequate class sizes for our students, that will have heat, that will have AC, that will have a roof that does not leak, that will have adequate services for our kids to use, that our kids deserve, that our teachers deserve, that our staff deserves. And we have done many things throughout this process to get the cost as low as possible. There was a discussion to add junior high on site, like move Collins, reuse our existing buildings that we had. I actually was in support of that. I love the idea of a junior senior high, but that was an additional $71 million if we did that. So they made the decision not to do that, reduce the cost by $71 million. There were different decisions like that throughout the entire process, where it was really looked at to make sure, is this truly needed? We're not building a school with like ridiculous bells and whistles. We're building a school with heat, with class sizes that work. And we need to ask the voters to cover the bill. And it's specifically for this school. There are a lot of surrounding communities that have a vote coming up to increase the budget, right? To do a full Prop 2.5, which will permanently increase taxes. We're not doing that. We're asking this specifically for the high school. And we're looking at additional ways to reduce the revenue that will be owed. So if we add, for example, the mayor has proposed a ticket tax for the Witch House. So a $5 additional tax for every ticket sold that will generate, $1 million in revenue, that will go directly towards our bond. It won't reduce the amount that MSBA is giving us. It will go towards what is due. So when you look at that tax calculator and how much is up, that's probably like highest case scenario right there. So we're working on things. One is on your list about the tax increase, which I don't necessarily agree with, but looking at creative solutions to get that bill down, because I totally acknowledge that bills will increase, and that is a hardship on many, many, many people, including myself. Like, it's something that is not taken lightly.
Okay, but getting back to...
the only thing is, they're really and truly, they're not asking. They're not just asking. Right now, the taxpayers can't, even without asking. It's one thing to say that your students deserve this, your teachers deserve that, but the taxpayers who are paying for it deserve to be listened to right now. What they're saying is, don't you realize, people out there, that the money that we have right now, it only goes just so far. We're not saying down the line we can't do something to help you, but don't push this at us right now. It is not available.
It's only going to be more expensive. It's not going to go, the cost is not going to go down the line. So if we're going to kick it down the road.
It's not that the price is going to go down, but you see, we're saying that the state is paying so much money. Well, that's my left pocket. That's where I put my state money, and one pair of pants. My right pants is for the city. It's all coming out of the same taxpayer, the state and the city both. They do not have the money. In other words, you're saying it will come from someplace. Sure, it will come from someplace. If they'll sell their homes and they'll move out, and the idea of what Salem had as a small, nice community. People don't stay in Salem right now for the schools.
I do.
Well, you're one of the few, one of the very
I
few.
know many that do.
In other words,
think the
is
schools are
this the
performing really
reason
well
that you
right now.
joined the school committee? Because you were satisfied with it, or because you thought you could help improve it?
Why are you asking why I joined the school committee? I joined the school committee because I thought the schools are on an amazing positive trajectory, and I want to help continue that moving.
Okay. Let's get back to the numbers of Revere Salem here for a moment.
I'll have to pull
Now,
up
again, from the numbers you just gave a moment ago, where you told the different square feet, the Salem school building is, let's say, a third smaller than Revere. Actually, it's not quite a third smaller. But based on the number that Teasie had said for the number of students, we basically have 2/3 less students. So in effect, our students are having we're twice as much square foot as they do in Revere. Why is that?
So I don't have those numbers in front of me, so I would have to go
Okay.
back as to
Well, that's-
how that
if
works.
we
But
take-
a building's a building. I mean, there's going to be a base cost at a certain point, right?
Right.
No matter if you have 500 students or you still have to do the foundation, all of that stuff. So enrollment, I would think
in terms
only,
of square feet. I mean, in other words, where our students are getting twice as much per square foot, and actually, it's going to be much smaller than the existing Salem High School.
Right, we're kind of right-sizing
because
it.
the
Yeah, it
existing
was
Salem
built for
High
like
School
2000.
was built with the baby boomer wave in mind. So it was probably built for 2,000 students. So this is a significantly smaller. So again, waiting the 5 years to get money to revamp this, to me, makes far more sense than just bulling ahead and just spending whatever, just it doesn't matter how much, we got to get it done now. I mean, I just think that's a foolish way to operate, and the only people that operate that way are government people.
Yeah, well, I think it's scary to wait for something that's not a guarantee in any direction. It's not a guarantee to receive MSBA money again in 5
Okay.
years. Definitely not a guarantee that any costs will go down. It's probably
the costs are
that's
not gonna go
probably the
down.
one thing is the guarantees
co-
the
yeah,
costs
the
will
costs
go
are not
up.
gonna go down.
And then during that process, we will struggle with accreditation if we do not go
Okay.
forward with it.
And that has to do with, I mean, again, it doesn't have to do with teachers. It has to. I had a friend of mine back in the mid-'70s, and he was going to start a private school in Marblehead because he thought that there was a need for an education that taught Latin and Greek and the classics and that, back to the old Cambridge, not Cambridge, Mass, Cambridge, England type of classical education. And he approached the board about it. What do I need? And they didn't care at all about his curriculum. They just said, what are you going to be doing for handicap access? What are you going to be doing to have minority students? What are you going to be doing? All these other ancillary things that had nothing to do with educating a student. And again, the accreditation of this building, these are things that really have nothing to do with educating a student. They have to do with another government agency forcing a certain thing so that a building has to be up to a certain level.
Yeah, unfortunately, apparently we need government to intertwine to force accessibility for all students.
That's true. That is true.
It should
But
just
we
be
have
a given.
we
but
have
it's not.
we do have accessibility now. Do we not?
I'm not sure where that comment came from. I know the accreditation issues that we would have to look into would be regarding the facilities there. So I would have to get more details there. I know we do
Okay.
have accessible facilities. Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, we have an election, not really an election,
May
a
5th.
vote,
May 5th.
May
Okay.
5th. Yeah, and for the cost override, again, one of my beefs about that is that it's not on a regular election time, and so therefore, to me, it's very likely to skew towards parents. Parents are going to have much more in stake at it, and we're going to get the vote out for the parents, and it's pretty much going to be a done deal that we're going to vote for an override. So I consider that sort of a done deal. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's my sort of my thing on it. But
Every vote counts, right?
Well, the whole thing is the taxpayers are trying to make it what's going on clear to your school committee people. And the whole thing we're saying, we're speaking, and you sound. It seems as if you're listening, but you're not really hearing us.
Okay.
In other words, even though the price is going to be the same or higher, it's almost like you want to go out and you want to buy a brand new car, and the price is going to be $50,000, and that's exactly what you need for the size family that you have. But the only thing is, if you don't have the money and you can't come up with it, then you can't buy that car. And even though you say, well, it's I'll save up for it. By the time you save up for it, we know that it's going to cost even more.
Right.
It's
And
you have to settle for something that you didn't want to settle for.
People demand the best in public services, fire, police, DPW. They don't want a second-rate police department, a second-rate fire department, or a second-rate DPW. That's what the vote is for in May 5th. Do we want a second-rate school system?
You already have one.
No, we don't. Absolutely not. But I was proud to send my 5 sons, and they've done.
I
they've
beg
done
to
better
differ
than I
with
have
you. I
sincerely.
beg to differ
They own
with
their
you.
own homes and not taking any government funding. They were in foster care. They've turned the American dream, the public school system under Jefferson, President Jefferson, all the way to where we are now, 2026. Public education has provided that opportunity for the American dream. My sons are living the American dream because of the opportunity of public education, and they got it. They didn't get they weren't in a Taj Mahal. They're not going to be in a Taj Mahal in a new high school.
Tom,
But it's really the 21st
I've
century.
got 40
They got it.
years with me too, as far as education, and believe me, things are different now in a different world, and we have to realize that. But the only thing is, even though people think a new school is going to be helpful, maybe it would be, maybe it won't. But what we're saying is, can you please just give us a break right now? There's things going on in the world. We have we can't get into presidency because that's a no-no. But the only thing is, right now, the world right now is upside down. And we have to straighten it out before we can take and add another burden to a taxpayers.
Well, I want to acknowledge that we're not brushing off that this is not an additional burden on taxpayers. And I would also point out to the personal exemptions that are available. And I direct everyone to the city website, to the assessor's department page, to look at personal tax exceptions that might be possible for their property. So, widowed to veterans, blind, there are all these different exemptions. The assessor's office can help you work through that. Not everyone qualifies, but that's step 1 to check. 2, again, acknowledging it is a burden. 3, we're doing everything possible to make that burden as least as possible. And then 3, invite you to see the amazing things we're doing in the school these days. Meet with the principal, Glenn Burns, and hear about the amazing programs. We just spent 5 minutes at the beginning of this talking about state championships that are coming out of the high school. There are great, amazing things happening both on the athletic sides and on the programmatic curriculum education side that I think would only benefit for everyone to learn about. There is going to be an open house on Sunday, March 29th, where everybody is welcome to take a tour of the high school, see the current facilities with your eyes, learn about the challenges. It's going to be led by students, by staff there, so you can hear what it's like day to day. I think that would be very eye-opening for a lot of people and learn a lot. But again, I just want to acknowledge that everyone I think understands, because I'm paying the bill myself, right? Like, it's not an easy ask for sure.
Well, once again, I'm going to say, about, are you listening, but do you really hear us?
Right.
I'm going to leave on that note.
I was elected in 2020 and the world turned upside down right after my election, and ever since then it's constantly been upside down.
That's right.
So
Okay.
I just wish there was a great time.
Take a trip to the Persian Gulf
Yeah.
and decide whether or not things can
the
be
upside down is the new
handled.
normal,
It can't.
Indeed.
Okay, next topic. There's an unsightly sewer pipe that is not the greatest place to have it from a safety standpoint near Pickering Wharf, and the city of Salem has just been awarded a little over $12 million to relocate that. Anyone know anything about the details of that, Tom? In the
Which
plan?
That's
one
been a
was this?
serious problem
Which
for a
one?
long
Yeah,
time.
long
At Willow
time.
Street, right near Diane's Boatyard. And Diane's Boatyard recently put an addition onto their property. The Diane family, the Diane Boatyard is an institution in Salem, the family itself, Diane. And that pipe has been a major health hazard, sewage problem in that whole neighborhood.
Yeah.
They've been
Oh,
patching it
yeah.
up over the years, patching it up. It's right near you, not too far from you, Teasie. The Willow Street area, the Diane Boatyard, that's where the pipe is.
Yeah.
And it's a major 12.5 investment by the state and so on.
Yeah.
So we're very lucky to have the state come in, and we could never do it on our own,
No.
that pipe. It's been there, we know it's been there. It's like that pipe underneath the North Shore Bank and the Gateway project across the street from the fire station. There's a pipe there that has to be redone, and the project has to be reevaluated.
Okay.
So Willow Street, the neighbors are very pleased. Diane Boatyard has made that expansion possible. They know that's coming on, that pipe, Diane Boatyard.
Yeah.
So they're part of the process of renovating that pipe. That whole neighborhood's been impacted by that pipe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Scary.
Oh yeah, that
Exciting.
sewer system has been for a number of years where, people knew that something had to be done. But the only thing is, it was going to be such a cost factor at the given time
That's right.
that they didn't know what they could or could not do. And this right here, they're hoping that it's going to be a way out for them. I know that the neighbors down there, I know how happy they are that maybe something is being done. But $12 million right now, is it going to cover everything? I don't know.
Yeah, I think they said 12 million from the state, and I think the city was just under $1 million
Yes.
that they would have to cover. But seeing the pictures of that pipe, it's exciting to hear that it will be going underground. It's on like pieces of wood that look like
Yeah.
a boat's going to hit it, and it's going to be
Yeah.
dangerous.
Okay. Mayor Pangallo has, or is in the process of trying to get a local option sales tax for the city of Salem. We'll see how that works. Any,
Is that the 5% increase that he actually wants? An additional 5%, And I know that our Governor Healy says, that she respects and the municipal rights. But right now, once again,
wait, excuse me one moment. Is this the same governor that said if you don't build within the MBTA thing, we're going to take away your funding? She respects municipal rights? Is that what she's claiming?
the governor.
The governor?
Yeah.
Is that the same governor?
That's the
that
same
said-
one. That's
Okay,
the same
wow.
one.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just want. I'd have to wrap my head around that one. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so she respects municipal rights, so she's going to be not opposed to local cities.
She's going to back off.
And trying to get more taxes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay.
But Mayor Pierre, when the mayor was elected, he was to represent all people. But the only thing is, it seems that the mayor that we have right now, the ideas of where they're coming from, is beyond the scope of our wildest imagination.
Well, again, with most elected officials, they're elected by a very small percentage of the population.
That's
I mean,
right.
He was elected by, what, 11% of the people of Salem voted for him? Something like that? I mean, it wasn't a whole lot more than that. That's 1 in 9. So only 1 in 9 people actually voted for him for mayor. So he represents the people that voted for him.
Shame on us.
Well, again, but that's the reality of it. I mean,
Right.
again, so if you have if you know that there's again, using the school thing here, if you have a proposal that you have one group that is very strongly for, and the rest of the people are just sort of like lukewarm about, then if you appeal to that one strong thing, you can get elected. And it's, again, a small segment. I mean, that's, just the reality of what politics is now, particularly with such a low turnout.
Well, we have a machine in Salem,
Okay?
and the machine works.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Now, clearly, the voters had a chance for that machine, to break that machine, or to renew that machine. We had the Harrington family come out and run for mayor.
Yeah.
Neil J. Harrington, former mayor of the city of Salem, town manager of Salisbury now, and he was defeated along with a councilor at large, Steve Dibble. So the voters of Salem had a clear choice in a 4-year election, 4-year mayor, to vote Dominic Pangallo for a full 4-year term. He was serving out a part term under the when Mayor Driscoll became the lieutenant governor. So Dominic Pangillo had a portfolio that the people of Salem could trust. He had 10 years with the former mayor as administrative assistant, executive assistant. He learned a lot on the job experience, and now he's the mayor by the voters of Salem, primary and a final election.
Yeah, he
and
was voted
debates
in.
and forums
I'm
all
not
over the place.
disputing that.
And it was up to the voters, all of us, to vote. Like on
And
May
again,
5th,
it's not,
we all have to come out to vote on May 5th
And it's
for the future of
not,
Salem.
it's not the fault of the people, and it's not Pangillo's fault that there was a low turnout for that election. That I don't take that away from him. He was the legally elected mayor. I'm blaming the people who don't come out and vote, and then say, wait a second, why am I paying this much, and why is that so high? But,
You know, Tom, I realized that you were, one of the very strong people in favor of the four-year mayor.
I mean,
But
actually,
if you have a good mayor,
it's probably 100% him.
Thank you.
But if you don't have a good mayor out there representing the voters, even when the voters are not voting, and you're still taking care of them, and that's not happening right now.
Gloucester, Framingham, New Bedford, Newburyport,
We need a
all
name.
own the four-year mayors because they see the future in a four-year mayor. You can't do much with a two-year mayor. I asked Tony
No,
Salvo.
I'd go three. Three I could almost tolerate.
I asked Tony Salvo and Neil Harrington in a debate forum when they were running for election.
Yeah.
Tony Salvo, the incumbent mayor, Neil Harrington beat the incumbent mayor. I asked them in a forum on a four-year mayor. Both said no.
Yeah.
Both could have made a good four-year mayor. Tony could have made a good four-year mayor, Tony Salvo and Neil Harrington. They chose not to. And when I put it on the ballot, and
That's
Stan
right,
Houston
and the
was the
reason
first
being
four-year
is
mayor.
this, what happens is, Tom, I mean, and this is the reality, it's difficult to defeat an incumbent. And by giving 4 years, it makes it more difficult to defeat an incumbent.
I'm jealous of Megan because Megan has a four-year term.
3 years.
Well,
But
again,
council every
and
2
the
years.
school committee,
You had a four-year term.
Yeah,
Well,
again,
council was 2 years, every 2 years. And
Right.
it's hard to get a lot of large work done in 2 years when you're
Yeah.
basically campaigning every other year.
Well,
It's
yeah.
difficult. So I'm kind of in the middle of the road about this
and
conversation.
again, on the school
but
committee, because it's a staggered term,
Yes.
you can have as many as 4 new people on that, assuming a mayor as well, which is a member of it. And you'd have, 3 people who've had at least 2 years' experience.
yeah, it would
So-
be good if council staggered, actually.
And I
There was
could,
big turnover.
I mean, but the reality is, it is difficult to defeat an incumbent.
Yep.
And because money makes a big difference. I mean, in terms of advertising, in terms of mailings, and things like that. So what happens is this: if you're, and most of the donations are made by people who have business interest in Salem. I own a business in Salem. I donated to a lot of candidates. I donated a lot of money over the years to a lot of candidates. And the thing is, because I have more to lose, more to gain and more to lose by who is running the city, because it's like more money at stake. Someone who owns a home here, someone who rents here can say, oh, goodbye, I'm going to move to Beverly next year when their lease runs out. People who own a home, it's a little easier for them to move. It's not as easy as a renter, but it's easy enough for them to also move. I'm going to buy a house in Peabody. But for a business is location, location, location. So from the business standpoint, it's very difficult to do that. So you have the people, the moneyed people, of which I guess I'm going to put myself in that, although barely. The ones that are donating are, they have a stake of the incumbent. And they're not going to go against the incumbent because they don't want to be on that list, just in case.
Unfortunately, you had a stake in Salem in 2 ways. You owned your own house,
Yeah.
and you owned the business.
Yeah.
So you had a major stake in the future of the city of Salem.
Yeah.
And that's why we do this program. In fact, we
Right.
all have a stake in the city of Salem there. It's to our best interest to keep an eye on it.
Well, again, and
Yeah,
that's why I still do it, because sometimes
Thank you.
I say I've done it enough. But again, I just look and say I just feel it's important, for however small our viewership is, for whatever little impact it may make. I just think it's important to have an alternative view out there to what is the headlines every day, and that's why I continue to do this.
Yeah, but developers, there are developers who also donate.
Right,
Yeah.
that's true.
There are limits on donations, but really anybody can donate. There's a limit. Back to the question on the local option tax that was requested. So the mayor essentially submitted a home rule petition to the state,
Yeah.
up to 5% additional sales
Right.
tax option. If you read between the headlines though and into the article, it can kind of see like it's dead on arrival, right? Like it's not going to move forward.
Right.
And really, the mayor, I think, was making a point of trying to look for alternative avenues to generate some more revenue, to not put the entire bill essentially on taxpayers. So as we're saying, we do acknowledge that the increase that we need to do on taxpayers in the city, trying to look at alternative ways here. So it's kind of more of a message to the State House, like, hey, look at what we want to maybe do because we want to help our residents not have an increased tax bill. It's never going to happen. It's dead on arrival. And I will complain and say I think the timing was pretty bad. He
But if
shouldn't
the
have
mayor
done it
comes
at the
out with a
timing,
sales tax, it's going to hit the same people. It's going to hit the people who live here.
Right, no, exactly, and that's my qualm with it. I do not agree with it at all, and I think that's why it's dead on arrival, basically. It's not going to actually happen, but it's more of a making a stance and a statement to the State House saying we need more assistance.
Yeah. Now, there was a proposal, and I fought against it, and it could have gone. I believe it would have worked, and this was when you were on this city council, Tom. I think you voted against it as well, and that was the ticket tax.
Yes.
You voted against
Lenny
that. right?
O'Leary wanted that. Councilor Lenny
Yeah.
Lenny
Now,
O'Leary.
the thing is this. Mayor Yusevich also wanted it.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
actually one of the few
I think you're
times
right.
that Mayor Yusevich and Councilor O'Leary were on the same page.
Unusual combination, yes.
Right, yeah. Politics makes strange bedfellows,
Yes.
they say. Okay, so the thing is this. Their mistake at that time was they didn't put forth a limit. If they had said that the ticket tax would be the same as the sales tax, and that's the number I'm going to use it. At the time, it was 5%. I think they may have gotten enough votes to get that done, because to go from 0 to 5%, if they were asking for 4, so it goes to 0 to 4% was a massive, massive undertaking. However, once it got to 4%, to go to 4% from 4% to 40% would have been like this. And that was the problem with it. There was no upper limit on that. If they had said, we're going to tie it to the state sales tax, which again, has gone up since then, but again, a manageable amount, more or less. I think that they probably would have had success getting that through, because even a lot of the businesses that fought it would have said, yeah, I can understand the logic of it. So I do think that was an error at that time, and that would have raised a lot of revenue, and maybe we wouldn't be hitting so hard on the real estate taxes. The other thing is this, and I haven't done it in a few years, but when I did, maybe 6 years ago, actually probably 5.5 years ago, analysis of Salem, Peabody, Lynn, and Beverly. And Lynn only because the school system was in the same sort of strata in terms of where it was located in the state thing there, and also it's our neighbor. But we spend more per capita than Peabody and Beverly, and Lynn as well. We spent like 20% more than Beverly, 25% more per capita than Peabody, and even more than that over Lynn. So we were much higher per capita in our spending, not tax revenue, whatever, all the grants. This is our total spending. And again, my belief is we are still above our neighbors in spending per capita. That is something, again, that is a number that's alarming.
You're talking about city expenses, the city budget?
Yes, all the total, right.
Divided by number of residents, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we probably have a couple special situations that we pay for, right? Like our additional police force on Halloween season, right? Like other cities do not have that expense
That is
line.
correct.
So
But if you,
there would have to be some dive into that data.
right, that's
yeah.
true, but it's the difference is more than 100% more than,
Mm-hmm.
it's more than 100% of the police budget. So it can't be that.
I would
Yeah.
have to look at the data to say.
Yeah.
I do know, speaking of, the Halloween, the mayor just released his annual Halloween report recap
Yeah.
of like expenses and revenues, and I always find that one fascinating to dive into.
mean,
Like,
don't we-
are we spending more than tag tourists
I mean,
and revenues are
typically we
bringing
generate
in?
more than we spend.
So it's close.
Not by law, but it's
Not
close.
by law, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the thing is this, I mean, that is somewhat of a wash.
Right, but I often hear, why can't we use the revenues from all the tourists coming into the city to pay for the new school and things like that?
Right,
But,
okay.
Yeah.
And one of the things, and this is something that I mentioned many times, we have a pretty full downtown. The business community is, I mean, the storefronts are full and things like that. And the reason why it is because of the Halloween season. Because we don't have Orlando, Florida weather, or Austin, Texas, or things like that, to draw tourists in year round. We have a very small period. We have the 1 month that was really major, and then we have from like Memorial Day up until then, where there is some increase in that. So if there was not this Halloween, zoo per se, let's call it what it is, a zoo, a lot of these businesses wouldn't exist. And that means the property taxes that would be paid by the commercial real estate would be significantly less. And commercial real estate pays about twice the rate as residential real estate in terms of the amount of taxes they have. And it's based on revenue generated. So if a building is collecting half as much rents, the amount of taxes they're paying, it wouldn't go down by half, but it would go down by quite a bit. So the thing is, for the residents of Salem, the Halloween season really does help their taxes. And it helps keep their real estate taxes from going up even further. So
Yeah,
that's
and
just something that people to remember.
A lot of our large businesses in town too, like the PEM, the hospital, the college, the sewage.
We have a lot of nonprofits.
A lot of nonprofits that are not paying. Some of them have pilot agreements, but not as much if it was a
Right, pilot
fully
agreements
commercial.
are, chump change compared to
Right.
what would be.
Yeah, and the sewage one, they just had a conversation at council like this recently about how it's been flat for the past 30 years. So not even any inflation incremental rates on there. So that I think kind of hinders us a little bit.
And I don't have a problem with the hospital, even though it's, hospitals, even though they're nonprofits, they're really for profit. But I do have a problem more so with museums, because museums are. I mean, you have the Salem Witch House, which brings in actually more people into the city of Salem than PBS Museum. I mean, they pay quite a bit in terms of, and the PBS Museum doesn't. And they always argue that we're providing free attendance to the residents of Salem. How many residents of Salem are going there? Only once a year. Never mind, more than once a year. Very, very few. Very few. So there's a few residents of Salem that benefit from that pilot ingredient, but not enough to offset what people are paying in taxes extra because of that. And that should have been addressed when they did their expansion back in 25 years ago. I made the argument at that point in time. We had the mayor and we had the director of the guy in charge of PBS Museum. His name was Dan Monroe. And I always said I wouldn't want to be playing poker against Dan Monroe. I'd rather be playing against the mayor because, I mean, Dan Monroe says if you don't do this, we're going to get up and move to Boston.
That's right.
Yeah, and there's no way that would have happened because Boston, first of all, would have required a much stiffer pilot than what we did. And second of all, they would have been a small fish in a big pond. And now they're sort of like a medium-sized fish in a small pond. So they just would not have happened, and I would have called their bluff. And
I work at the PBS Museum the last 15 years, and they've had to, since that edition of 25 years ago, they've had to reinvent themselves, constantly reinvent themselves with the public, the demand and information, technology, and everything else. Even as we speak, they just opened up the East India Maritime Hall into 400 new pieces of artifacts that were spread throughout the museum and Rowley and so on there. So they have to think of the pulse of the history of Salem, which is a major part of Salem, is the cultural center. Halloween, but it's also a cultural historical center for the North Shore.
I don't have any particular problem with the PBX Museum in and of itself. And again, I just think that they should be paying more. I think they should have rebuilt the armory, which they agreed to, but then waited for it to get so bad to let it fall down.
We just finished talking about that, about the armory and everything right down the line. And the fact that, here in the city, before, the museum was, it's popular with schools that come here from all these other communities and everything, but there's never a charge to the schools. And that's wonderful. That's all part of education.
Yeah.
But right back there, that they should have been put in their place when they first started out. But now, we had an administration at the time, if I remember correctly, that more or less said, with Monroe, who was here at the head of it, what else can we give you? If they were going to stay, they weren't going to leave.
Right.
Anyhow.
I don't believe that,
and that was it. It was just, but he got away with it.
Yeah.
And once he got away with that, he was home free.
Yeah. Well, again,
our mayor gave him this.
We have no leverage. We had leverage at that point in time.
What happened with the Essex Institute? Where is that?
Yeah. And the other thing that came up was, again, the whole street closure. The original plan was there was going to be, the museum was going to go across over the top, and the street was going to have access through it. And then all of a sudden the plans come out, and it's like, oh no, we had to change it for this reason. But there was never any, that was not part of the agreement when we deeded the street over to them. So yeah, again, I have some beefs, with that. But again, my beefs are more with the City of Salem administration at that time than with the PBX Museum, because they were acting in their best interest. If everyone's acting in their best interest and you sit down and negotiate and you recognize that, then that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Anyways, we're just about the end of the show. Anything on the school committee that's happening other than the school that we should be hearing
Other
about?
than the superintendent search and the new high school, again, the open house for the
Right,
city.
okay, yeah, so we have an
March
open
29th.
house on March 29th.
March
What time?
29th. I believe it's 1 to 4.
Okay, and that's so you can take a tour of how bad the facility is now.
There'll be a
And then-
short presentation too from the high school building committee at different intervals. Yeah.
And then on March 5th, there is the override vote.
May 5th.
I'm sorry, May
5-5.
5th. Sorry, we're past March 5th. And May 5th is the override vote. And
And the
again, I'm
superintendent
sure
search
this-
is beginning, right? So you can go to the Salem Public School website /superintendent search, or there's a web page made up that describes the outline in more detail that I just described of the search dates, things like that. If you'd be interested in joining any search committees.
Tom, any project hitting that's coming forward that we should be know about?
The Salem State Complex, the old St. Quittians is coming down on the fast track between Avalon developer and Wynn developer. There's going to be about 435 different units between Avalon and Wynn for the old St. Quittians complex that's on Loring Avenue in Salem, Route 1A.
Apartments, condos?
Mostly all apartments, 435, 1, 2, 3 bedrooms, no retail down bottom, which is really neat. It's all residential. And it's
Well,
gonna
I mean, other than the tenants there would be, people aren't going to pull in there for retail. So
Yeah.
that makes sense they wouldn't have retail.
the old bake